Welcome to welcome to the Akashic Records. My name is Joy Koff, and I call this series Messages of Joy. And what I do is I go around and I interview some of the teachers that work out of Miracles of Joy, so they can give you some background information on what it is that they do, how did they get started, and kind of just catch you up to speed on what's going on out there in the industry. So today, my special guest is Jody. So thank you, Jody, for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
So let's get started because I have been fascinated about the Akashic Records for years. So for those people that may not be aware of the Akashic Records, let's just go ahead and get started. So tell me a little bit about what are the Akashic Records and how did you get started an Akashic Record teacher?
Oh, wow. Well, first off, the Akashic Records is like an infinite library of information that's been stored. It records every thought, every word, every action, every emotion that has ever been generated by any of us in any incarnation. The way I like to describe the Akashic Records is like a computer. And when you go into a computer, you type in a Word document. You open it up and you type in a Word document and you hit save. So what the records do is it saves all of the details of all of our lifetimes. And what we do is we can access these records in many different ways. And how I got started was kind of a fluke thing. I was very blocked creatively. And I wanted to be able to write more music and for it to flow. And I was living in Austin, Texas, some 20 years ago, and I was playing bunco with the women in my neighborhood. And I met this very interesting woman who ended up we're still friends today, over 20 years ago. And she had asked me if I would let her come to my house and open up my Akashic Records. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but come over. So what it did was it opened me up to be able to connect and open myself up more creatively. And that was about all I could do at the time. So that's kind of how I explain the records and also how I got started.
So who did you learn from? Who was your teacher that taught you how to read the Akashic Records?
My teacher was Mary Parker. She learned to read the records from a man named Johnny Pachaska some 40, 50 years ago. And I learned from her back in 1999. She taught me through the prayer that she used, and through her teachings, she taught me how to and certified me to be an Akashic Records teacher. She was an amazing teacher. I think she passed away. I think it was about 4 years ago when she passed away.
And I've heard her name before. It's almost like she's linked to the Akashic Records. It's almost like she brought the Akashic Records to the mainstream.
She did. She did. She was an amazing, amazing woman. She always described herself as a little lady from Odessa, Texas, and she always said, "I do not know how in the world I'm supposed to do this, but I'm here and I'm open and I'm going to do it." So what she did was from that first class that she took, she started to listen to the record keepers, and they started guiding her. She created her own type of program to teach people how to read their own records, but then also to certify them as teachers. So what she ended up doing was starting an organization that I was a member of for many, many years. And she was probably one of the most amazing women I've ever met. Very humble, very loving. And an amazing teacher, mentor, and friend of mine.
So let's talk about why would someone want to have an Akashic Records session? What is it that, if someone is looking for a reading, and we know of all kinds of different readings, whether it's psychic, mediumship, tarot, they do energy healing, which is also Reiki. These are some of the most common ones. Why would someone want an Akashic Record session? What is it about that makes that different?
The thing that I think is the most powerful thing about the Akashic Record consultations and sessions that we do is that we take the information from the Akashic Records, but we also have been given a healing modality from the records, it's just a healing energy that's come through that helps us to heal at the DNA level. And when I say DNA level, the records is, remember we talked about earlier, it's a storehouse of information. So it's about the past.
Mm-hmm.
So we open up the records, we access what is present in someone's life. It could be around their job, around their relationship, their children. And then what we do is we take that information and we ask questions and we go back into the records and we retrieve where it originated from or where it is trapped. So what makes it different is that we are able to retrieve that information, which is great. The information is great, and I love that. But the one thing that I think that sets us apart with the way that we're reading the records and doing sessions is that we have the DNA protocol to help us heal it where it was trapped in the past, to bring the present moment a clean so that you can move forward with a new energy and a new confidence about where you're going with whatever the subject was. It's not like you have to do anything. You come to the session, you create questions. You come in, we do a small little prayer to get the energy lined up and get you into the light, and then we just work off of your questions. And it's amazing how much help and support you get from the record keepers, which are angels that have contracted with God to help us to bring this information in. But it also helps you to understand that you're not alone.
Right.
You're not alone, and that you have all of these beings of light, the support team around you all the time. So that's what differentiates us. But I think anybody that wants to change their present life and they know that it's something that's going on, they don't know if it's genetics, they don't know if it's past lives, they don't have any idea where it's coming from, but they know that something doesn't feel right because they keep running into the same walls. This is the perfect thing to use because we can go back, open up where it's coming from, whether it's past lives, genetic lineage, or even other realms of existence, and help the person heal in that present moment to change how the future is going to go.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you ended up here at Miracles of Joy, because it's sort of like one of those odd stories.
It is.
So to give the folks who are listening some background information is, I've heard Jody's name mentioned over the years. I'm going to say, like I would have a customer come in, someone come in and mention Jody's name. And it was about a year and a half ago when I decided I wanted someone that could teach the Akashic Records to come in here at Miracles of Joy. So I went and did some research, and I believe you were giving a lecture for Daniel. He came into a class. I met him. I picked up the phone and said, "Hey, you were just here at my channeling class." And I said, "I noticed that you're doing something with the Akashic Records." And he mentioned your name. And I go, "There's that name again."
I know.
So when I actually went out and contacted you, you and I had a conversation, and it feels like it's one of those unique conversations. It feels like two soul sisters,
Yes,
who haven't spoken to each other in years and years, and we just sort of reconnected.
Yeah.
And to give some people some background information about the Akashic Records, some of the classes that Jody is offering here is so you can learn how to read your own Akashic Records. So you have the ability to go in for all those issues that you feel are blocking you, that you can't get past. You actually, in this class, you not only go to the up to the Akashic Records, you see what the Akashic Records are, you work with your masters, and you get to go up there and clear anything that needs to be cleared. And you can clear it on a DNA level. It's about releasing negative energy. We talk about lower vibrations. They're also like soul fragments, which may be aspects of your soul that got trapped at a trauma point in your life, and actually clearing that so you stop reacting when certain situations happen to you. So I'm going to ask, from your perspective, why would someone want to take the level 1 Akashic Records? What is it that they will gain from that?
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to depend on the individual. I came to it to enhance my creativity because I was blocked. I have people come in that have trouble with their children, whether it's, drug addiction or they have a learning disability, and all of the above. People come in with very abusive childhoods. I mean, really abusive childhoods. And some people, as amazing as this may sound, is some people will come sit in a class and they'll go, my acupuncturist said you were having a class and she thought I would enjoy it. So people just jump in for that too. But it's infinite what you can do in the record. So if you have something or things in your life that you would like answers to and would like to change the energy around it, how you feel, how you think, how it affects you in your life, then anybody can benefit from taking that level 1 class.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone.
I totally agree with you. I think, how many levels have I taken?
3.
Three.
Yeah.
So in taking, why I decided to take it is I wanted to, believe it or not, one of the magical things that have happened to me is I wanted to become more in harmony with the people that are working out of my store. And how I use the Akashic Records is I can go up and I can clear energy if there's past life energy with someone, if there's soul fragments, if there are aspects of myself that they mirror. So what it allows me to do is to go in and clear that energy that I have with people, so we come more into harmony here at Miracles of Joy when we do a project that we actually are working and we're on the same page. And if there's any past life or ego or attachments that are attached to it, I'm in the Akashic Records and I just go in and I just clear anything that I may have with that individual, which in turn clears any issues with that individual of them coming into Miracles of Joy.
Are you using the DNA protocol when you clear?
Yes.
Okay. But the thing that we were talking about a second ago is you were talking about it, but I wanted people to know too that we can use that DNA protocol to activate what you do want and ground it in this lifetime, so that there is a momentum of energy behind you. I call it the record keepers holding me up and supporting me, but it's like if I take that action, it moves me in that direction of what it is that I'm really wanting to change or feel or manifest in my life.
So before we go any further, what I would like to do is let's talk about one DNA activation that we can look at. And some of it is, let's just take bad relationships for an example. Because we have 7 people who are currently on here. We have more that have signed up that'll be viewing this later. I want to show how the Akashic Records can really impact them. So let's just take one item and let's just take bad relationships.
Okay.
I think there's not a person on this planet.
I can be in that one with you. I've done that one many times.
So let's just kind of go through bad relationships and open up the records and see about clearing it. And also, so people who happen to be with us in the webinar can clear that online as well.
Absolutely. The way that I would start off is that I always get in touch with people before the consultation, and I say, start writing questions around what it is that you really want to heal. So what happens is that kicks it up into the consciousness, and you start thinking about it, whatever you really, really want. So then they come with the questions or areas of their life, and when like bad relationships or relationships are having trouble, what a lot of people come and they say, I want to meet Mr. Right, or, every relationship I've ever had is ended in, infidelity or, abuse or whatever. So I listened to all of those and I asked the record keepers, okay, which one, where do I start with this person? So what I would do is, let's just go ahead and do it. That's what you wanted to do, right? Let's just go ahead and do the deactivation stuff. So what I would do is the person says to me, I've got a husband that he's been unfaithful to me, and I keep running this pattern. So what I would do is I would tell the person, I would set them up in what I consider to be this is the way I do it. My students do it whatever way they want to, but I always tell everybody to step into the light. So it's like stepping onto a stage into that spotlight. So I say, step into the light to heal. And whenever I say that, I can see and feel a circle of record keepers, these beautiful angels standing around the person and that light, ready to support them and help them heal at the DNA level. And then it would go something like this. God, as I stand here in this light, I ask you to release and deactivate at the DNA level all lifetimes connected to this lifetime where I have been in a relationship where my spouse, my partner, was unfaithful to me. And then I would say, take a deep breath. And then as you let it out, the record keepers are helping to pull that trapped energy that is stuck not only in your physical, emotional, mental bodies, you presently, but it will go all the way back in time to any time, place, realm, dimension. So then I take a breath and then I wait for a second and I see what else comes into that light from the record keepers for the person that I'm working with. And so we want to heal the opposite of that too. So anytime, any place that I have been unfaithful, I step into the light and I heal when I have been unfaithful in any relationship. And I take a deep breath and I release it. Another way you could go about healing bad relationships is to take the person.
Right.
Let's say you have a coworker, and so you take the coworker, and as stand in the light again. You stay in that light. You're in that tube of light, that beam of light. You bring that person into the light with you, and you can say to that person, and I'm listening to the record keeper, so they guide me on what to say every time. But what I'm hearing to say right now for the people on the line is, whoever this person is that's sitting across from you is, anytime in any place where I have hurt you, knowingly or unknowingly, I forgive myself and I release and deactivate it at the DNA level from all past lives and any connection to my genetic lineage, any time and place. And then you breathe and you let it go. I'm not hearing any. You have a question?
I have not had anyone ask any questions.
No, I was talking about any question about the anything other that you would want me to talk about relationships.
Relationships. Well, part of it is, I'm going to say, being in the metaphysical business, what ends up happening is a lot of the people that come forward, if someone is on a spiritual path, they're very empathic.
Absolutely.
They're empaths. So what they have a tendency of doing is picking up on other energy. They also have a tendency of drawing to themselves people that have more of a narcissistic type personality, which is more of a taker. So I think what would probably be the most beneficial to anyone who's on the line, because they're connected to a metaphysical source, is if there's a way we can just address empaths and narcissists.
Okay. One of the things that you want to always know is that if you are experiencing empathic feelings from other people, it's really not going to be about them. It's going to be about you healing yourself from other lifetimes where you have maybe abused power or overstepped your boundaries in power. So what I would do is I would go very big and very general first. So with the empath. So you want me to do the healing, or would you like for me to just talk about it a little bit more? Because I can go either way.
Let's talk about it a little bit more, okay?
Okay.
And then if I hear anything where someone is having that issue and would like us to do the healing, I'm more than happy to go into it.
Okay. So the way that I would work with somebody that was empathic, and I can do this one very well because that would be me, is I felt very victimized by energy all of my life. And I thought that everything that I felt was mine to heal. I had no idea till I got to the records that it really wasn't mine to heal. What it was that I was so open, didn't know how to close down or protect myself. So I would pick up on the energies of others. So what I did through the records was I healed a lot around feeling like a victim, healed a lot around any lifetimes where I had abused power, abused my energy. And what I started to learn was processes that I teach in the class about pulling in my energy field and putting myself in the tube of light. So that would be the way that I would go with empaths. Now, when you run into a narcissist, the narcissist is a person that pushes out their energy. Empaths bring it in. We do it unconsciously a lot of times, but that's really what's happening. So with the empath, it's learning how to set good boundaries with energy and to recognize if the narcissist is bothering you, or trying to put all their stuff on you or take from you, then it's your job to learn how to set a good boundary and hold that light, hold that love, and allow them whatever they want to do, because they will, if they, until they heal their narcissism, they're going to continue to do it with other people. They will.
So I have a question. Maria has asked, can you treat yourself for relationship healing, or is it better to have someone guide you? Sort of like a doctor treating themselves or seeing another doctor to treat them.
I believe that you can do it however, with that said, I love to work in conjunction with people all the time, because I always feel like when two or more are gathered, whether it's two people working in the records or people, two or more people in classes, it builds the energy. But I can tell you from my own experience and from a lot of my students' experiences, we can heal relationships, because what will happen is that if we heal our part in the relationship, it has to change. It has to change. It has to change. Now, you don't know how it's going to change. It could make it a little bit worse at first, because what you're doing is you're learning how to have good boundaries in the relationship, or it could change almost instantaneously. That's what I found for me. It's that I was so used to saying, well, wait a minute, I can read the records. This is not this right here that I feel. Wait a minute, this is not me. And it wasn't me that I was feeling, but I was an empath. But what I had to do was heal how it was affecting me. So absolutely, yes, you can heal it in the records.
I'm making sure that answered her question.
Did it?
Let's see. Here we go. So let's talk a little bit about some of the people that come forward. Our biggest challenge, I'm going to say, is humanity as a whole, just being human, is overcoming fear. And that's a big one. And fear is such a broad topic to turn around and say, hey, I'm going to overcome fear, because sometimes good fear is good to have. It helps us to know when we're in danger and not take some of the risks that we need to take. But when you've had people work or come to you to overcome fear, what are some of the paralyzing fears you've seen?
Oh gosh. I mean, everything from flying to leaving an abusive marriage to stepping out and reading the records of other people, or stepping out into the world and doing the work that we do. That's a big one for a lot of people. There isn't any fear that you can't work in the records with.
Right.
The way that you would work in the records around, say, a fear of flying. What we would do is we would go into the records and we would find out. We would ask the record keepers, where is the origin of this? And it could be when you were Native American and you fell off of a cliff and it scared you so much because you were up so high and you fell. We don't know what we're going to find till we get into the records, but that's what we would do with fear. We would take it and we would go really, really big. So we could do a deactivation, like putting into the light, releasing all fear that is not mine and does not serve for the highest, kind of cleans it up, right? But then we can wait and see what comes in about the specific fears that they're talking about. So if you're getting into something like a fear of flying, that could be, pretty easy. But if you get into a fear of leaving a long-term relationship or a marriage because it's abusive, then we're going to have a lot of entanglements within the records. It can be past lives, genetics, this lifetime, things that we've learned. So what we would do is we would work at what comes in from the record keepers, and we would start to dismantle it using the DNA protocol. And then when we you can tell when you hit a really big one, because a lot of times people will feel the release. They'll feel an emotion come up, or they'll feel a tightness in their stomach, and then all of a sudden they may be tearing up on the other end of the phone. That's good. That means that they are open and the record keepers are doing their job to clear it out.
So you mentioned something that we hadn't really gone into detail about. So talk about, like in the Akashic Records, the different levels you heal at. Because there's so many different levels that you can actually pull this and heal at in the Akashic Records.
When I started, it was, I didn't even, it was about getting, about my music. And I was like, I was raised Catholic. I was like, I don't even know if I believe in this past life stuff. Well, let me tell you, I do now. But what I've learned over the years is that it's mind boggling. And when I say that, it's really so much. You have to really, every year almost, I have to step into a bigger way of being able to open myself up to be able to understand that it really is infinite, because the mind can't grasp it. So some of the levels that we know that we're healing on are past lives, present lives, future lives, genetic lineage, past, present, and future, all the way down through all of the lines. We heal on other realms. We can heal, like, I don't know if any of y'all believe, but there's angelic realm, extraterrestrial realm, there's the plant realm, there's all of these realms of existence out there that we don't even know about. The conscious, the subconscious, the cultural, the subcultural. There's all these different realms and bodies of energy out there, even parallel lives. All of that's out there. Do you need to know about all of it to read your own records? No. But if there's one that needs to come in, the record keepers will teach you and show you what it is that you need to learn. Because when I started, I didn't believe in any of it. I did not believe in any of it. And as I opened myself up, because it made me feel so much better, I was more confident, and I didn't feel sick all the time, because I don't know about other empaths, but for me, I was sick all the time. I just would absorb everybody's energy. So when I learned about all this stuff, I was like, wow, this is absolutely amazing. And so that's what kept me going with the learning the different ways to use the records. I do not work like my teacher did it all. What I did was I knew that there was a way to heal at a deep, deep level. I didn't call it the DNA level, but I knew it was there. And I didn't know what I was doing because I was playing music, right?
Right.
But what I realized in that moment, one time I was writing a song, and I asked the record keepers what they wanted me to write. And all of a sudden, I got this overwhelming feeling and a heaviness. And then I saw the record keepers told me some of my relatives that came in, and from my dad's lineage. And it's an Italian lineage. And you have to work hard. And I realized in that moment, I didn't want to carry that heaviness of my lineage. So that's when we started really working genetics. Then we really started working with the DNA, because I started to see different ways that, that we were, all of these lifetimes and other realms were converging onto this lifetime. And everyone was really getting tripped up. Really tripped up. People would come to me, they're like, I have no idea. I've been working this to death, working it to death, working it to death. And I'm like, let's see what we can do. So I'm a student. So I just kept practicing and using it on myself. And then anybody that would let me work deeper and deeper and deeper with, I would do it. So there's so many realms out there. I even can say realms that we don't even know about yet that we can heal.
So my question to you is, I know there have been times, especially when there's trauma that happens in someone's life, that whether it happened when they're 4, 5, 6, that an aspect of their soul can break off, or that aspect of themselves can get stuck at that particular time. Mm-hmm. So there is also that aspect of bringing that and integrating that aspect of yourself back with you, which actually makes you feel more whole and complete.
Does. That is, when we were talking earlier, we were talking about the DNA deactivation and the activation. So in level 2, what we do this a little bit in level 1, we teach you how to do the basics of that to be able to do an integration. We call it integration. Mm-hmm. The Native Americans call it soul retrieval. There's really no new word for it, but what we're doing is that we are teaching people how to use the information they get from the Akashic Records, dialogue with the record keepers, but also if a part of their soul pops in to be healed, that's been fragmented off, that's been traumatized, whether it's this lifetime or another lifetime. I know everybody's heard about inner child work. So what if it was a younger aspect of you that you were in your records, and they came in and they said, hey, remember when this happened? Can you help me heal that? So what would happen in that moment was that we would take the information we were getting from the records, we would deactivate it using the DNA protocol, which is very simple. Y'all have already heard it whenever we did it a little while ago. And then we would work with that aspect of self until it felt complete for now, complete in that present moment. And then we would allow that aspect to either come in to this lifetime. I always say come into my heart, or it would move on, and it's spiritual evolution, and it would come in when it's ready to come in. So it's like there are so many pieces of us that have been floating around out there, and we are collecting them and healing them, and then bringing them in to be present so that we can not only feel whole, but to utilize them. So if you've got the traumatic parts of you that are coming in to heal, what if you can bring in the parts of you that used to be amazing dancer or an amazing artist or a healer? So you can also activate and bring that in too. So it's those pieces to me they're not really fragmented off. It's just about remembering and bringing them in, those two. So those are the two types of things.
Okay, so I have a question again that says, have you ever been frightened by an experience working in the Akashic Records? Is it always friendly?
It's always friendly. In the records, you're never going to get any information or healing that would be judgmental or hurtful in any way. Now, with that said, I have felt some stuff, only because it was aspects of me from other times and places still judging myself. So when you're in the records, there's nothing but loving, kind information and energy that comes through. But when you don't feel that, when you feel heaviness or stuck, that means that there are parts of you that need to be healed that are trapped in the past. And I have had a couple of experiences where I've been in the records and it's really scared me. But when I went back into the records, I checked back in, and everything was fine. It was about my ego being in the way. My fear got in the way of what they were showing me in the records. So when you perceive something in the records as judgmental or harmful or scary, it's not. Those are parts of you that are pushing back, that are trapped and going, whoa, I've done this before. I'm not doing this again. This is some scary stuff.
It's also, what's really interesting is if our, you talk about the Akashic Records and our soul evolution. Well, all of us have been murderers, like all of us have been murdered. All of us have been rapists, like,
Yes.
people have been raped. So there are aspects of who we are in the past life that when we see that, our ego goes, oh no,
I know.
I didn't do that. That
Yeah.
wasn't me.
Yeah.
And part of it is when you look at it from a karmic perspective or karma as a whole, part of that is you have had those, you had to have had those experiences in order to receive those experiences. You had to have been the perpetrator as well as, the victim. So what I feel like working in the Akashic Records is not only accepting those aspects of ourselves, but integrating those aspects of ourselves in order for us to be more whole and complete, gain some understanding, and releasing the emotion around it.
Yes.
When you integrate it, what ends up happening is it takes that fear and it transmutes it. If that's a proper word to,
transform, transmute,
right.
Dissolve. Yeah. You touched on a really big one, though. Most people are really okay with when they, the woe is me, this is what's done to me, but they do not want to, when they go into the records and you tell someone, we're gonna have to work at healing when you have been the murderer, or when you have been the rapist, or when you've been the child molester. Oh my gosh. It's really hard in the beginning to recognize that. But if what we're doing with the records is what we said a minute ago, it's just a storehouse of information and healing energy. There is no judgment in there. So it's just storing until we're able to open ourselves up and to be that open to go, you know what, if I've done this to you, anyone or anything, I forgive myself and I release it. And that is where we go to, because you can't have one without the other. And you said it a minute ago, but there's also a third thing. Sometimes we'll come back, I have seen in people's records, to be of support, to help with, through love, our family members or our soul group to be able to heal those things too. So sometimes we come back and we do it to be of service in a big, big way.
So some of the items that we have here is anger and upset.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the ones that when we opened up, what we did for this group is we actually, I think Jody, you went in to ask the Akashic Records, what kind of things did you want to do for this workshop to help the people who were actually listening in on this
Mm-hmm.
call, and to also gain a better, understanding of the Akashic Records. And these are not only some of the things that I picked up, but there's some of the things that they asked us to do some DNA activation and deactivation for the group that
Mm-hmm.
happens to be on this call.
Um, I would love to know some of the if anybody would like to tell me some of the specific things that they are dealing with about their reoccurring anger. One of the ones that I find a lot, if they could let us know, that'd be great.
Okay.
One of the things that I have been seeing more and more, because women are stepping up more to find that balance in their life. They equal pay, equal everything, equal equality in everything. So what I've noticed is that a lot of the women that come to the records are really learning how to do that balance. And there's still some anger and resentment attached to that, to being a woman, to being told that you have to, you have to let a man, you have to have a man in order to be able to provide for you. If you have, you have to raise your children with a father. All these different things that women women that come to me are holding a lot of resentment, and it's not that it's coming directly from them. It's really being passed down through their genetics, whether it's the father's side or the mother's side. So what I would do is, if a person came to me and we were talking about this, this is what I would do with them. So let's do a DNA clearing for all the women that are on the line here.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. So God, I step into the light to heal. So everybody, see yourself, visualize yourself stepping onto that stage, into that beam of light. I step into the light to heal any and all ways that I am still holding on to, any anger and resentment from my genetic lineage around being a woman that is dependent upon a man, dependent on a spouse to provide for them. So anytime, any place, any realm, any dimension where I did not believe in myself enough to be able to support myself on every level, I forgive myself and I release it. I forgive myself for judging my mother, all women who have chosen to be a mom and allow themselves to be supported by a man in this lifetime. I forgive myself and I release it. And all of the times that I have judged myself for needing someone to support me financially, wanting someone to support me financially, I forgive myself and I release it. Deactivating all of this at the DNA level. Everything that is not mine, I put it into the light now. Forgiving myself and forgiving anyone that played these roles out with me in other times, places, realms, dimensions. And I especially forgive my mom and my dad if they modeled this type of behavior. And take a deep breath and just let the record keepers work on you. If you feel something in your stomach or your throat, all that means is that there's some stuck or trapped energy there, and they'll work on it and they'll move it on out. So then what you want to do is then you want to activate in and fill yourself up. So the activation is very simple. Same thing. I'm standing here in this light, and God, I'm grounded, and I want to bring in and activate the energy of equality, balance, a sense of self, knowing that I can love, support myself in whatever I create in a way that I've never ever been able to create or support myself before. I activate in that in my marriage, in my relationship, that I bring a sense of balance to the relationship, but also a sense of balance within myself, knowing that no matter what is going on, I am able to support myself on every level.
And you can feel that that hits for all women.
Yeah. And even men too, even guys too, because,
Right.
we pigeonhole guys a lot too.
Mhm.
They struggle too. So anytime I've judged men, put it into the
Right.
light,
Mhm.
because, and I do get a lot of women that are angry at men too. They're angry, but the thing
Mhm.
is that they're really angry at the situation that they have gotten themselves into. So what I do is I help them to heal what got them to this place, because it could be, an abusive father, or it could be a past life
Right.
when they were abusive. So it's just all
Right.
going to depend on where it comes from.
So I'm going to just throw something out there. Mostly when I see patterns of people that I get to work with on a daily basis, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there about how to heal something. I just got a question, and it says I'm I added, and I am open to receive support as well. Oh, someone added that they also added into it that I am open to receive support as well. That is a big one for
That's a really good one. That's really good.
independent women. One of the things is, like, we don't know how to ask for help or how to receive it. We feel like we're not capable of receiving it. That is a very good one.
Well, that's a good one to heal, though.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
do it since you
Yeah.
put it out there.
So, okay. So, God, I step into the light to heal any time, any place where I was not open to receiving love, intimacy, financial support with my children, my health, my life. I deactivate all of the aspects of me that are still trapped in the past, that are not allowing themselves to be fully open to receiving. And just take a deep breath and let it go. Deactivating it at the DNA level, all that is not for the highest good anymore. I can feel a lot in people's hearts and
Uh-huh.
third chakras, okay? And so when that flares up, when I'm doing a consultation with somebody at some kind of a session, I know that there's some heart issues, obviously, because the heart's hurting, but the third chakra is the power center. So when I feel that in someone that's telling me that the person that I'm working with, or the people that I'm working with, are waffling back and forth trying to find out how to be powerful and do it from a place of tremendous love and connection. So let's do that one. So any
Okay.
time and place where I've lost my power, any time and place my power was taken from me, and I've lost it, or I've given it away because it just didn't want to have this kind of a conflict with my loved one, I forgive myself, release it, and deactivate it at the DNA level. All that does not serve the highest good of all from any time and place. So it could be your genetic lineage, been passed down, could be a past life, could be from this lifetime. We don't know. It doesn't matter. We put it in the light, and you let the record keepers do the work. So let's activate in, because she gave us a good activation.
Right.
So I activate, integrate, and ground into this lifetime, this existence. So that moves forward into my future. And this is how it's going to be for me, that I allow support. I allow healing. I allow abundance to come into my life on every level, activating it and grounding it and allowing it to come in. The support is me supporting myself first. So that's what I want to activate, that I know I can support myself through my connection to source, and through I'm an intelligent woman, or I'm an intelligent being. And then I activate in that I allow the abundance of support. And that could be love, intimacy, finances, more friends, more free time, family, the abundance of life, the support of life. I activate that in, and I ground it, and I let that move into my future. And that feels pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It does. It feels
You could
really good.
you could
Nice and
actually
clear.
you could actually feel the energy move.
Yeah. Yeah. My bottom of my feet are tingling. I was like, oh.
Uh-huh. Mhm. So One, I've seen a pattern, and when I usually see patterns that happen with people that actually come in, it lets me know that there's a bigger picture that's kind of going on. I have had women come in who I want to say are paralyzed. And what I mean by that, they're just like stuck. And they've had um, bad marriages that have fallen apart.
Mm-hmm.
And now what they're doing is reflecting how they felt at that moment with coworkers and bosses. And, these mirrors are starting to show up all over the place for them at this juncture. And I've had, believe it or not, I've had like 4 different women who have come up with this. And I've spent some time talking to them about healing that aspect of themselves that's stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is you said to yourself in that moment, how you felt in that moment, what part of yourself don't you love, that's trapped there. And I'm saying, I don't think that this is appearing in all these people. I feel like you're scared to say anything because you're reflecting your ex-husband on these people, because it could be someone who's more powerful, whether it's a boss, things of that nature. And I really think that that seems to be something that's coming to the surface right now. And it's all about, I want to say it's ex marriages. It's like there's a piece of them that's stuck in that ex marriage that's not coming forward.
Yeah. The way that I have learned to do this, and it has evolved. It has evolved over years of this. And I always wanted, remember we were talking earlier about how we wanted it to be, about them, about somebody outside of us. So my ex-husband's is still
Right.
doing the same thing. This is very simple, but it just takes some practice. So you've got a woman that comes to you and she's got these patterns running. So what you would tell her to do is, and this is what the record keepers would say, they'd say, have her heal what is present, what is coming up for her. So and she'll say like, well, but my ex-husband is doing this. I'm like, I know, but what are you feeling when your husband is doing that or saying that to you?
Paralyzed.
Paralyzed.
I mean,
Okay.
the feeling that I got from, I know it's been 3 or 4 of them, is they won't speak to the person. They're scared it's the end of the world. They're afraid that they're going to get fired. They're afraid that it's going to create all this massive conflict. And what's happening is it's not that bad. It's this past that's being reflected on these individuals in their life.
I would take them back into the past, and I would try to get them to look at any time and place in this lifetime first where they were stuck or paralyzed in fear of speaking up, speaking out, speaking from their heart, and then I would clear that energy and then see what comes in, because it's probably something from whenever they did speak up and they got shot down, or they did, it could be anything like that. But it's really important for you to be clear, to bring them back to the parts of them that are trapped and heal it up from them back there, so that when they come into the present, they're going to be scared if they have to talk to a boss. But we don't want the fear to be so overwhelming that they can't. I can remember a time that when I first started reading the records of others, I was sitting across from this veterinary doctor. She had come to my home when I lived in Austin, and I was sitting there with her, and I was so excited because I wanted to read the records of animals. So I thought, oh, this is going to be great. So I'm going to invite her over to look at my healing room. So we were sitting there, and when you're reading the records of others, you're so afraid. I was afraid. I was reading her records. I was so afraid of what they were telling me to say to her. So what I had to do was I had to heal inside of me the fear of me speaking up to this person that I highly regarded. And guess what? It was a perfect thing I could have said to her, because when I said it to her, she laughed and she goes, oh my God, that's exactly what I was talking to my husband's ex-wife about yesterday. It was a really funny story. So what we do is we want to heal up the trapped pieces, so that when you do have to take an action, because you do, being paralyzed, that is not, you could start with being paralyzed, literally. Right. What if somebody really literally was in a past life paralyzed? Or they were so paralyzed by their voice they could never speak again. So all those things, you could do it literally. But then when you get a person to where they're starting to feel some relief, then they're going to need to take an action to show how far they've come. And that's when you step in and you allow your fear not to overcome you, but trust that you're going to be guided and protected by the record keepers. They've never let me down, ever, ever. So that's one of the things that you could do with people that are paralyzed. And you just keep helping them to break free of the traps that their mind and their emotions have placed on them. And it can be something very simple from childhood, or it can be something very big from a past life, or it could be all of the above.
It's been a pattern. It's almost like it's about facing, it feels like we're in a time zone, if you want to call it a time warp, right now on the planet, because when I see repeat patterns like this that show up and that happen, it's usually saying, oh, we're in that time where, if there's anything that we broke off in the past and we haven't dealt with, it's being put in our face by the universe so we can deal with it.
I have a beautiful way of saying that. People will say, you've heard the old saying, be careful what you pray for.
Right.
So what I have learned from the record keepers is we set such big prayers and intentions out there, and they want to help us in any way that they can.
Right.
So when you get something back that's right in your face and it's really difficult and you go, oh my God, you start thinking about, I don't want to ask for anything anymore. What you're doing is when you set that intention or that prayer out there, what comes back is what you need to heal in the records. So if you can look at it from a non-judgmental place and kind of shift your perception around when something is difficult, that it's not there to make you have to struggle. It's there to help you heal it so that you can get to what it is that you really want. And that is the beauty of working in the Akashic Records, because that perception shift alone changed the way that I viewed the records. Because I used to think, oh, this is a lot to hold. It's heavy and it's hard. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's very easy. It's very comfortable.
What I noticed, just for me personally, what I would do is if I'm working on anything, and I feel stuck, whether it's a spreadsheet, I know that it seems weird, but, in business, if I feel like I can't get through stuff, or I'm getting stuck, or I'm getting caught up in my head, I have been opening up my own records at that time to work on, whether it's a spreadsheet or some writing I need to do, or things like that I need to do for myself. I mean, and that's how I kind of use the Akashic Records, is I'll open it up if I am, like I taught a healing class not that long ago, and I decided I wanted to teach it from the Akashic Record perspective. So I opened up my records to actually teach a healing class or a workshop. I will open up the records before I do that workshop. Here's my workshop. And so I can present it from a higher perspective. I feel like
you get a lot more help that way.
I feel like when I'm in the Akashic Records, that those aspects of my ego kind of get pushed over to the side, and it's just more fluid in what it is that's being presented and what's being channeled.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's beautiful about learning to read your records, because it works with every healing modality. It works with anything you want to bring to it. It doesn't matter if you're a veterinary doctor, a business owner, a healer, tarot, Reiki, acupuncture. It doesn't matter. Everything can be enhanced and supported and even brought to a different level from opening up your own record. So when I teach people to read their own records, I'm like, as soon as you get back, as soon as you get guided, practice the way that you're taught to journal and to get comfortable with it. But after that, take the training wheels off, open your records up before you go into that massage or that acupuncture treatment or that tarot reading, and see the difference. And I am not telling you 100% of the time they will say, oh my God, because what happens is that if everything is in the Akashic Records, the tarot, everything, the doctor, every music, if every thought, word, action, and emotion is in the Akashic Records, it's our job to bring it in. Okay. So we bring it in and we anchor it. So what we can do with that support is like, so the masters and the teachers of, let's just use tarot, because that just keeps popping in my head, of tarot, they come in. Okay.
Right.
So you're fixing to do a tarot reading. So they come in and they're really present. And then all of a sudden there's an auditorium filled with masters and teachers from the records that are supporting this modality, and it comes through you. And it's unbelievable.
So we have a couple of statements out here. We had one person that said, I would like to learn to read the Akashic Records. I think Lynn, you're saying you have an audio book, but have not really had gotten connected. So Lynn, we do teach the Akashic Records here that Jody teaches at Miracles of Joy. So if you want to go on our website and look at miraclesofjoy.org, under featured events, we have an Akashic Record class that's coming up. It'll give you a little bit more information about that. Also, we got another question that says, what actually happens in a workshop? That's a good one.
Oh, it is.
You know, what actually happens in a workshop? Is there a book, role playing? Do you share personal issues in the group setting? So I'll let you take that one, because there's like a lot of digging.
There is. And okay, so the first day of the class, you are going to learn to write really good questions, because a good question is going to help with the information in the records. We teach you different ways to do it and get them very clear. You learn some other prayers, forgiveness prayers, prayers for releasing outside influences, different prayers that are going to help you move energy while you're in your records or when you're not in the records. These prayers are great to use anytime. And then you learn the DNA protocol. So that first day, you're going to already start going into your records using the prayer that we use at Akashic Connection. Anytime I say this, I always go, oh my gosh, you do not have to share in the classes, right? But it really does help when you do. So what you would do is, the way the format would go is you would write a few questions. Then you would write the answer to the question out of the records, not in your records. So you would journal for a couple of minutes. And then what we would do is we would go through the process of opening up the records using Akashic Connections prayer. And you go into the records and you're going to ask the same exact question. And you're going to write and journal it from your Akashic Records. And then if you want to, we like for everybody to share, or as many people that want to, and then you share, you read your question, and then you share what you wrote out of the records, and then you share what you wrote in the records. So that would be probably one of the first processes. And then by the end of the first day, you will have learned all of those different pieces. And by the second day of the class, take everything that you learned the first day, because I load you down with stuff. I really do. But you really do need all of this in order to practice when you get home. So the second day is about going deeper. You're going to write a difficult question, one that you're not really comfortable with the answer to, because what you want to do is you want to get stuck, because you want to use the DNA protocol, the DNA deactivation and activation to get yourself back clear again in the records. You want to be able to use the forgiveness prayer, some of the tools that you learned the first day, in order to get yourself unstuck and get the information and healing energy flowing back through you in the class. Each class is different, but those are the basic things that we go through. By the end of the second day, you'll be worn out. You will.
So some of the questions that people are asking is that timing. One is level 1 also available as an online class? And I don't think you have it. I know why you don't have it, because it's mostly about, working with people directly, or having people, so they have, people that they can share with and things of that nature. And having it online, there's not really a lot of feedback. I would probably, it doesn't necessarily mean, Jody, that I don't think we could put a level 1 as a webinar for those that want to take it, but they would have to actually participate at the time that we're doing it. It's not like you could put a course online and they can dial in and do it when they're available. I got that kind of accurate, correct?
Yeah, I have thought about doing it, and I have tried to do it. I tried to do it a few years back, and it loses something in the translation so far. But one of
Hmm.
the things that I have found is that if a person wants to come in, they could come in a webinar situation, but there's also the ways to come in where they could actually communicate like you and I are through
Right.
a webinar system.
Right.
That way
Right.
would be awesome. So, and I do have people that take the class, and we use Skype, and we'll set up
Right.
ever how many computers or tablets that we need to for the people that want to come in and to the classes. So right now we don't have it,
Mhm.
but I don't believe that that's not something that is unrealistic in
Impossible.
the future.
Correct.
The one thing that I love about it, it's the momentum of the people that come to the class. It just starts to build and build and build. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. There
Right.
is a group of people that come together, and we can form this amazing energy to heal at that DNA level. So yeah, I think we could set it up where people could webinar in, don't you?
I think so.
Sure.
I think it's possible to get it to be set up. Also, I had one person ask, how large are the classes? Would you say I mean, what's the largest class you've had? I know we've had them about, I think the largest we had here was 8, if I'm not mistaken,
Eight
or
or
11,
nine,
8
yeah.
or
8 or
9.
9. Yeah. The largest class I had was I believe that it was about 33 or 35.
Okay.
And in that class, obviously not everybody would share, but what we did was we took turns. So people, anybody can ask questions anytime throughout the class after any process, because that's how you're going to learn is if you're not understanding and I'm not being clear enough, please ask a question. But what we did was we had people, I'd ask the record keepers, how much time do we have for these people to share? So I would go through and I would, ask anybody to share. And then I would try to get other people that didn't share in the last process to step up and share. So we can really do as large as we want to, but I
It's
don't think that it
usually
matters.
your average is, what is your average for
I would
class?
say average class could be anywhere from 8 to about, average class is usually about 8 to about 15.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
usually what it's been.
Okay. So, and I have another question out here. It says, someone, it's from Debbie, and she says, I have been feeling frustrated with different things, job, health issues, etc., frequently in the past few months. What is the best way to deal with this? And when I start feeling this, and when I start feeling this way. So I think what she's saying is, you know, she's just starting to get frustrated with everything,
Mm-hmm.
and she wants to know, how can she best deal with this, and how does she do it when she feels this way?
Um, Again, we're going to start very general, but I
Okay.
call it going big. Okay.
Okay.
So the word that keeps lighting up is frustration. So if it was me, Debbie, this is what I would do. So I'm feeling frustration from everyone and everything. Instead of engaging in it and putting my ego out there or blaming someone else, what I would end up doing is that I would say, okay, record keepers, you could say God, record keepers, I'm feeling this frustration. I don't know what to do with it. So I'm going to step into the light to heal it. So I would see and visualize myself stepping into this tube of light. And I would say, any frustration that I'm feeling that is not mine, and any frustration that I'm feeling that does not serve my highest good and the highest good of all, be released and deactivated from me now. And I take a deep breath and I pull my energy in as close as I can, and I try to disengage myself from the energy of the frustration, because sometimes the frustration you're feeling could be reflected from someone else, and it registers your frustration and then it becomes bigger. So you want to get really clear around your frustration. So then that's a general way of doing it. Then I would ask myself the deeper question. So the specific question. So that person comes up to you and they say, they frustrate you, and all of a sudden you go, God, that man is a jerk. Okay. So then I would step into the light and I'd say, any time and place that I have judged anyone for the way that this man is talking to me or to my friend, I forgive myself and I release it. Anytime I've ever acted like that man, knowingly or unknowingly, I forgive myself and I release and deactivate it at the DNA level. So what I'm doing is I'm talking myself away from the frustration in the light, recognizing that I am a person that is highly sensitive, feeling this frustration. I know that it's really distracting me from the love, and I want to separate myself from that frustration and get back to the love. And so the forgiveness does it. The DNA deactivation does it. And so instead of engaging, you disengage, get into the light, go into your heart, and deactivate it at the DNA level.
So we have had a comment, and Debbie, let us know if that's what you're looking for. Is there anything else you would like to add to that?
Thank you for reading my mind, Joy.
Okay, and sorry.
That's okay. I'm okay with that.
So Jude has a comment, and she says it would be great to do something online because she's in Canada. So,
Well,
do you go to Canada?
I'll go anywhere if what is that, build it and they will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really, I will travel anywhere. I also know of someone that it's actually my teacher's daughter, and I don't know where she lives in Canada, but her name is Gayla Parker Neufeld. She does teach Akashic Records, so and she's up in Canada, but I don't know what part. Canada's pretty big, so but she's up there. She doesn't teach the prayer that I use. I use a little bit different prayer. She uses the one that her mother used.
Mm-hmm. So, Jude, if you can tell us what part of Canada you're in, and I could just pass that on to Jody, and maybe there's a teacher up there that you can go if you wanted to learn directly from them. Mm-hmm. That may work out. Mm-hmm. And the feedback that we got from Deb was awesome. That is very helpful. Thank you.
Good.
So I'm going to ask if you guys have any other questions that you want to ask, please bring them to the surface. So let's talk a little bit about the different levels of the Akashic Records, because you currently have 4 levels, correct? But the 4th level is becoming certified to read other people's Akashic Records.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So you want to know about the classes that we teach, or okay. So the first level class, we just talked about that one. It's where the training wheels are on. You are learning how to use the prayer, how to open the records, how to close the records, how to write good questions, and how to incorporate the DNA deactivation, activation, and the prayers to keep yourself moving within the records, being able to utilize them in your life. Because one of the things that a lot of my students over the years have said, and I love to hear this whenever they say it to me, they're like, you always get great information when you go and get a reading from a really good reader. But I am so glad that you're teaching us how to use the information that you get to heal myself. So the DNA deactivation is basically become a healing modality. So I love that. So, but that's the first level class. The second level class, what it is that the questions have all been written from the records. They are questions that are specifically designed to be able to take you through a healing process to get deeper and deeper into your own records and more confident. So we do things like integrating and healing the healer within. So we go out into the records and we find a healer part of us that we want to bring in the aspects and learn to utilize them in this lifetime. We heal around separation from God. We heal around being able to heal our genetic lineage on anything that has been stuck or trapped through time. So these questions that we go in, it's really about learning how to go deeper into the records and learn the integration process. We talked a little bit about that a minute ago when Joy said about taking the aspect of ourself that's been trapped, bringing it, and we were talking about dialoguing with it. Mm-hmm. We heal it. We bring it in to this lifetime, and then we are able to move on more clear, more full, more complete. So it's really about, and I think I did it earlier, we're taking all these aspects of ourselves and we're bringing them into this lifetime after we heal them so that we do feel more whole and complete. So then the third level, it's a 1-day intensive. And in the 1-day intensive, what the record keepers have had me do is I wait until everyone signs up for the class. And I try to, and by this time, y'all all know me. And I'm like, y'all got to sign up. You got to give me time to write the class. I actually go into the records and I say, what do you want me to cover with these people? that are coming to this level 3 class. And the girl that was in your class, Joel, one of the girls that was in there, she emailed me and she said, when she got the workbook, she said, oh my God, you hit the nail on the head on every one of them. And there's a lot of themes that we run as human beings.
Right.
So I kind of know what to ask, but it gets very specific. So that's the level 3 class. I write it for the class, the people that are showing up. It's one day. And that gets you prepared for being able to read the records of others. Now, reading the records of others is reading the records of others, but it's also, you can read the records of animals, land, businesses, anything that is my computer. I could open up the records of my computer and sit and see what it is, which place to go and take it to. It's just amazing. You can open up body parts. You can open up the records of your genetic lineage. You can open anything up using this prayer. And in that class, the first day of that class, what you do is you practice and learn how to set yourself up as an Akashic Records consultant. And you've got to be able to be confident, but you also have to know how to speak to them and to learn the dialogue of making your person, your client, your friend that you're reading or doing a session on them feel comfortable. You've got to learn to hold the energy of the records. But you also have to learn how to allow it to come through and be able to speak and do the deactivations and activations like what we were doing earlier. So that's the first day of the class. And we do this thing called the love seat. And this was my teacher, Mary Parker. It's the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. Some people would call it the hot seat. We called it the love seat. At the end of the class, we do a group opening for one person sitting in a specific chair. So all the eyes are on you. You would be, we'd open up your records, and the information and the love and the healing that comes through for the person sitting in the love seat, it's overwhelming and amazing, and it's life-changing. So then we do that for everyone, and I always tell everyone that first day of class, if we get stuck on something, we're going to have to stay late, so that we do. But then the second day of class, we invite people to come in so that you can experience what it's like to read someone's records that's never had an Akashic Records reading. Because you, the consultant, have to know how to hold the energy, hold the love, answer their questions, dialogue with the record keepers, and dialogue with the person that you're reading the records of, and hold this amazing love. And it's really cool how it flows through you in a way that most people that come take the class, it's unexpected and how clear it comes through. So we bring people to the records that way so that they can understand just how sacred this opening is. And I tell you, everyone that comes and takes the class is just honored to be able to support that other person. You're changed after you open up someone's records. You really are.
So if we don't have any more questions, one thing I want to put out there, Jody, is how did they get a hold of you?
That you can go to jodylavoy.com or akashicconnection.com.
Okay.
And or you could call me at 817-550-8550.
So
you can get in touch with me anyway.
So I'm going to tell you that you could also, if you have any questions about this and you need to get a hold of Jody, you can also get a hold of Miracles of Joy. And our email address is info@miraclesofjoy.net. Again, that's info, I-N-F-O, @miraclesofjoy.net. And if you want to give us a call, you can do that as well. You can call us at 972-221-8080. So as long as we don't have any more questions, we're going to wrap this up. What I am going to do is when I finish this webinar, it's supposed to redirect you to the page where Jody is teaching an Akashic Record class. If it doesn't do that, then all means give me a call here at Miracles of Joy and we'll get back in touch with you. Again, Jody, I want to thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for asking me to do this. I didn't give you my email. I didn't, when you said that, Joe, I thought I didn't tell them my email. It's Jody, Jodi, @jodylavoy.com. Very simple.
Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and redirect you guys to my website. If for some reason, I want to thank everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
This has been great. Thanks for
Yeah.
all of your feedback. Be sure to let us know, how did you like this, and would you like to see some more in the future? So thank you again.
Thank you, everybody.